I won $10 million in the lottery, but when my daughter found out, she stole my ticket and started living a new, fancy life. She thought I'd just keep quiet. But she was wrong. She didn't know I had signed that winning ticket. Let me start from the beginning. I never thought I'd see the day my own daughter, the same girl I raised with everything I had, would toss me aside the moment she got a taste of wealth. But there I was, standing in the pouring rain outside her brand new estate in Arizona, my cardigan soaked clean through, mascara streaking down my face like ink on wet paper, staring at the blinding lights above her driveway. It wasn't the storm that shattered me, it was her voice, cold and sharp. "You're not getting a single cent from me, you bitter old leech," she snapped. Then came the thud, my suitcase slamming against the pavement. The very same bag I had packed with care that morning, folding each item with hope that maybe we'd finally find peace. Instead, it burst open across the concrete like an overripe peach, spilling out my underwear, worn socks, and the faded blue blouse I used to wear while babysitting her little boys. My toothbrush rolled into the gutter, as if it too knew I didn't belong there anymore. She didn't even blink. And just behind her, with his smug little grin and arms folded like he was proud of himself, stood her new boyfriend, some flashy guy who couldn't have been more than a few years older than her eldest. The sold sign was still dangling from the front porch post, and ribbons from the real estate agent fluttered in the wind. I didn't yell. I didn't sob. I just stood there, drenched, my gray hair plastered to my scalp, silent. Thank heavens her sons weren't around. They didn't have to witness their grandma being dumped like an old mop. "You're a parasite," she barked from the doorway. "I worked hard for this life. You don't get to freeload just 'cause you're pushing 60. Worked hard?" My teeth clenched. I paid her rent for nearly 4 years, raised her boys while she job-hopped, sacrificed my own retirement fund to keep a roof over our heads, and I did it without complaint. But I stayed quiet. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me crack. I looked down, picked up my socks one by one, hands trembling more from the chill than anything else, clutching the suitcase tight to my chest as I stepped back. The dirt was turning into thick sludge looking at my sneakers. She figured I'd crawl back, beg her to take me in. But she miscalculated. Just a tiny mistake, but one that would cost her dearly. Only a few weeks ago, we were still under the same roof, or at least that's the story I told myself. I was helping out like always, doing laundry, making dinner, and covering part of the bills with what little I had from my pension. She told me it was just a rough patch, that things would turn around soon. I never pushed. That little place we lived in, an old one-story with creaky steps and a crooked fence, was messy, noisy, and always smelled faintly of apple juice, but it was home. We got by. We leaned on each other, or so I believed. And we had this silly little tradition that made the tough times a bit lighter. Every now and then, we'd swing by this beat-up gas station down the street and each grab a lottery ticket. Just $2 each. I always picked random numbers. She stuck to birthdays. We'd sit at the wobbly kitchen table, line the tickets up, and dream out loud. "Imagine winning 8 million, Mom," she'd say, eyes wide. "No more working for Raymond. No more late payments." I'd laugh and say, well, maybe I could finally buy that porch swing I've been wanting for 9 years. It wasn't about the jackpot. It was the shared hope, the what-ifs, the silly little bond we had. She used to tell me more than once, "If I win, Mom, you're getting half." I promise. And I believed her. Even when she left her messes all over the living room, skipped out on her share of the bills, or dropped the boys off for the weekend so she could go job hunting, which usually ended with blurry selfies at a bar. She had her moods. She was worn out. That's what I told myself, because that's what moms do. We make excuses for our kids and carry the burden, even when no one thanks us for it. But that week, something felt off. She was on edge, jumpy every time her phone buzzed, locking herself in her room, barking at the boys over nothing. I figured maybe she was just overwhelmed again. I didn't push. I should have. That Thursday night, we were on the couch watching Channel 12. The anchor, all smiles, said someone had bought a winning lottery ticket right down the road, our usual spot. "Someone in this town just became a millionaire," he beamed. She shifted in her seat, didn't laugh, didn't say a word. "Did you buy one there this week?" she asked, trying too hard to sound casual. "Yeah," I told her. "Picked one up Monday with the groceries." "Why?" She just shrugged and stared at her phone. The next morning, my ticket was missing. Not in the drawer, not on the fridge, not in my wallet. I tore through the house, checked the trash, behind the toaster, under every stack of mail. Nothing. My stomach sank deeper with every minute. But I didn't say anything. I couldn't bring myself to. That night, she made dinner real food, not microwave stuff. Poured wine, even kissed me on the cheek before heading to bed. She hadn't done any of that in ages. The next day, she walked in flaunting brand new designer shoes, then came the handbag, then her nails, glossy and bright like she'd hit the jackpot. When I asked her where the money came from, she flashed that too smooth smile and said it was a bonus from work. I wanted so badly to take her word for it, I needed to. But deep down, something didn't sit right. Then, just a few days later, she came bursting through the front door like a kid who'd won a bike on Christmas morning. "Mom, you're not gonna believe this," she nearly shouted, shaking with excitement. She held up a check, $8 million, bold as anything. "I actually won. I won the lottery." Her voice trembled with this wide-eyed joy, and she hugged me like everything was perfect. But as I looked at her, something inside me just knew this wasn't her win. She never buys tickets, never carries cash, and absolutely hates chatting with cashiers or waiting in line. The idea that she just happened to buy the winning numbers this week? I wasn't buying it. I forced a smile. "Wow, that's amazing," I said, barely choking it out. She wrapped her arms around me and said something like, "We're finally getting out of this dump. We're gonna live the life we always dreamed about." But I heard it differently. That we had an expiration date, and it was closing in fast. Because it wasn't just a lie she told. It was a theft. She took something that wasn't hers, and she had no clue just how deep she'd cut. 3 days later, she was gone. No goodbye, no message, not even a sticky note on the fridge. Just vanished. At first, I convinced myself maybe she was taking the boys to visit someone or off on a weekend trip. But the silence in the house was too heavy, too complete. Her closet was half empty, drawers left open like they'd been rushed through. It wasn't a vacation, she'd disappeared. And I might not have known for sure if it weren't for old Mr. Harlan next door. I was out front, watering the brittle hydrangeas, when he leaned over the fence with a cigarette hanging from his lip. "Hey, Ellie," he called. "Saw a U-Haul out front early this morning. Figured you were moving out." My stomach dropped. "Moving truck?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," he said, flicking ash into the grass. "Real early, like 5:20. 2 guys loading up boxes." She was out there in some silky robe, bossing Em around like she was on TV. I nodded, unable to respond. She'd slipped away before sunrise, while I was out back pulling weeds like a fool. She didn't just leave. She escaped. And that word stuck with me the rest of the day. Like I was a prison guard, or something ugly she needed to get away from. I wandered into the kitchen and stared at the fridge. The yellow smiley face magnet was still there, but the lottery ticket, the one I'd bought that Monday with my groceries and stuck up under that very magnet, gone. And, just like that, it wasn't a question anymore. She had taken it. My ticket. My chance at security, at peace, at maybe finally breathing. She'd stolen my future and traded it for her fantasy. I pulled open the junk drawer and dug out the old white envelope where I kept coupons and receipts. And tucked deep inside was something I'd forgotten, an old photo I'd snapped that same day, just for fun. It showed the ticket, numbers a little blurry, photo slightly crooked, but clear as day was the timestamp, the gas station's name, the exact time and date. It was mine. And suddenly, the tears I'd held back all week came rolling down, not out of heartbreak, but from cold, clear understanding. She thought I was too soft, too slow, too forgetful to notice. But she missed one crucial detail. I had signed the back of that ticket the second I bought it. That tiny slip-up? It was about to ruin her plans. I didn't call her. Not yet. I grabbed my keys and headed down to Granger's Gas and Mart, The same little corner place I'd been going to for milk, stamps, and scratch-offs for 14 years. Luke was behind the counter like always, same warm smile. "Miss Ellie," he said. "Been a while." I managed a nod and tried to steady my voice. "Luke, I need to ask you something important." He leaned forward, instantly serious. "Of course," I said. "You remember that lottery ticket I got last Monday? I made a joke about buying a beach house and leaving my daughter the dishes." He chuckled. "Yeah, you were behind that guy yelling into his phone." My pulse quickened. "Do you still have security footage from that day?" His smile disappeared. "I think so." "Why?" I swallowed hard. "Because that ticket's missing. And someone else is claiming they bought it." His eyes narrowed. "Wait, what?" "I signed it," I said. "Right there at the counter, like I always do." Luke went quiet, then nodded slowly. "Let me check something." 9 minutes later, we were huddled in the tiny back office, staring at the old grainy monitor. And there I was, wearing my winter coat, gray knit hat tugged low, handing him cash, receiving the ticket. Then, clear as day, I pulled a pen from my purse and signed the back. My name, Eleanor Mason. Luke looked at me carefully. "You want to record this?" I pulled out my phone and hit the red button. Yes, just the footage. That's all I need. That night, I sat at the kitchen table surrounded by the photo, the receipt from my wallet, and a screenshot of the surveillance video. Then I picked up the phone and called the state lottery office. I told them the truth. Where I bought it. When. That I signed it. That I'd sent the footage. That someone else, my daughter, had taken it. There was a long pause. Then the woman on the line said, "If your name matches the signature and the footage backs it up, we'll begin a formal investigation." I asked her, "Can you freeze the payout?" She said yes. "Once the process starts, everything's on hold." I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just let out the deepest breath I'd held in years. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was sitting around hoping for someone to come and rescue me. I was standing on my own 2 feet, finally doing something about it. I didn't call her. Didn't send a single text. I didn't air it out online either. Let her keep popping champagne in rooftop bars she probably didn't pay for, tagging brokers in her stories like she belonged in their world. While she was busy painting her fantasy for strangers and likes, I was stacking something solid, photo by photo, receipt by receipt, signature by signature. The next morning, I met with a lawyer named Julia Porter. She was recommended by Mrs. Luke's son, the retired schoolteacher next door who'd gone through something similar when her son tried to snatch up her late husband's life insurance. Julia was sharp, no nonsense, and didn't waste a minute. She sifted through the folder I brought, my copy of the ticket, the surveillance printouts, the time-stamped photo, all of it, and when she looked up, she didn't ask if I was sure. She just said, "This isn't a misunderstanding. It's theft. And you have a case." I nodded, my hands trembling just a bit. "I don't want revenge," I whispered. "I just want what's mine." Julia gave me this look that said she understood in her bones. "Then we'll get it," she said. That same day, we filed the claim officially with the Colorado State Lottery Office. Julia knew exactly what to say and how to say it. She'd handled plenty of cases like this before. By the end of the week, I got a call from the Lottery Commission. A polite man explained, "We've opened a formal investigation into your claim, Ms. Mason. The funds have been frozen and the payout announcement is on hold until we complete the review." I hung up the phone and just sat there at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of half-warm tea. No marble counters. No gated driveway. Just my same chipped countertop, squeaky cabinet hinges, the old rug by the sink that always curls up at the corners, and the buzzing fridge with magnets from grocery stores long gone. And you know what? It felt like mine. It was still real. I hadn't told her anything yet. Because daughters like mine, they never see the fall coming. They're too caught up in the music of their own party to feel the thunder creeping in. She kept posting like nothing was happening. A new clutch bag here, brunch by the pool there, rooftop selfies with a fresh pack of friends who wouldn't last the season. The boys were barely in the photos anymore. First once a week. Then not at all. That silence told me more than anything she ever captioned. She'd filled my place with noise. A young nanny who couldn't spell the kids' names right. People who clapped for her when she called me a burden. But I kept quiet, not because I was defeated, but because my silence had turned into a strategy. Her social media became a stage. Every filtered post, every sugary caption oozed with self-congratulation. Cutting out toxicity. Surrounding myself with winners. No names, but I knew who she was talking about. Everyone did. And they praised her for it. Old friends from school, second cousins who hadn't called in years, all cheered her on. We always knew you'd make it. Good for you, girl. Let go of the dead weight. I sat there scrolling, not because I cared what they thought, they didn't know me, but because she was letting them rewrite everything. She let them erase the woman who skipped meals so her daughter could eat twice, who put her name on a lease when her credit was in ruins, who cleaned up vomit while her daughter drank herself sick across the state line. They didn't know because she never told them. Instead, she gave them a single word, leech, and let that word define me. I didn't argue. I just took screenshots. Every post. Every smug comment. Every glittery glimpse into a life funded by something that didn't belong to her. Not to shame her. To document her. I printed them all, slid them into my folder, and brought them to Julia. She read through each one slowly, her lips tight, glasses slipping down her nose. She's out here calling you a parasite while flashing money she didn't earn and legally doesn't own, she said. I nodded. She made herself the face of the win, Julia added. This is good for us. The more she brags, the clearer the picture becomes. And she was right. Every boutique she tagged, every pool she posed beside, every designer label she paraded, all of it had no financial trail under her name. She thought she was untouchable. But she was just giving us breadcrumbs, leading us straight to the truth. They always overexpose themselves, Julia said with a little smirk. That same week, the commission confirmed what we already knew. The footage was valid. The purchase and the receipt matched. My name was the one signed on the back of that ticket. All the pieces clicked into place. And still, I hadn't called her. Because the deeper she dug, the harder she'd fall. I wasn't about to stop her while she still had the shovel in her hand. Then, just like that, the silence began. 2 days after the funds were frozen, her online feed went black. No more rooftop boomerangs. No more unboxings. No more clinking wine glasses in borrowed penthouses. Just nothing. I pictured her waking up that morning, stretching in some plush bed she never paid for, grabbing her phone to check her account balance, only to see it locked. Transactions declined. Balance, 0. I imagined her voice cracking as she called the bank, demanding answers, then going cold as the representative told her they didn't have access to the payout anymore. And as the panic set in, the silence grew louder. But I didn't smile. This was never about getting even. It was about finally standing up for myself, about holding onto a shred of dignity after giving everything I had and more. I had loved with everything in me, look it over backward until my spine nearly broke, poured out every ounce of care without expecting anything in return. And in exchange, I got nothing but ridicule and rejection. So no, I didn't smile when the silence hit her. I didn't gloat or cheer when the consequences started creeping in. I simply waited. Quietly. Patiently. I let her sit with the choices she made and the life she had built on borrowed kindness. Meanwhile, the state combed through every detail of the case. They double-checked timestamps, location logs, security footage angles, signature comparisons, you name it. Every piece of evidence pointed right back to me. And once everything was confirmed, they set the date for a small press conference. Nothing flashy. No TV trucks or national headlines. Just enough reporters in a modest room to make the truth public and official. No one notified her in advance. I didn't owe her a single warning. After all, she'd already told her version loud and proud, painting herself the hero. Now it was my turn to speak. The night before the announcement, I couldn't fall asleep, not out of fear or nerves, but because my mind wouldn't stop replaying memories. I lay there in my twin bed, watching the shadows shift on the ceiling fan, thinking back to when she was little. Her scraped knees. Her first heartbreak. Those quiet nights when she'd tiptoe into my room, eyes swollen from crying at some teenage betrayal, whispering that she was scared of being left behind. And now look. In the end, she was the one who walked away. But not this time. That morning, I got dressed slowly. I tied my hair back neatly, buttoned the navy blue blouse I usually saved for special occasions, and stared at my reflection. I didn't see a victim anymore. I didn't see someone waiting for love to come back. I saw a mother who had finally found her voice again. That day, I didn't step into a courtroom or a mansion. I walked into a modest town hall with my friend Dana beside me, holding my hand. And when they called my name, I stood up tall and said it into the microphone without hesitation. My name is Eleanor Mason. I bought that lottery ticket. I signed it. The winnings are rightfully mine. For the first time in years, people actually listened. They heard me. The news spread like wildfire. By noon, my phone was blowing up calls, texts, voicemails. Folks I hadn't spoken to in decades suddenly remembered I existed. But I didn't answer a single one. I sat still, hands folded in my lap, letting the noise roll past me like thunder in the distance. I wasn't waiting to hear from old friends or distant cousins. I was waiting for her. At exactly 1:45 p.m., her name appeared on my screen. No photo, just the name. I picked up the call. No greeting. No apology. Just her voice, sharp and cracking like dry wood under pressure. "You stole my life," she said, breath ragged. "You humiliated me." I didn't respond. "You think this is justice? You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. My accounts are frozen. What am I supposed to do now?" I let the silence stretch, long and heavy. Then, steady and clear, I said, "You could start by saying thank you." There was a pause. Then a bitter laugh. "Thank you? For what?" she snapped. I stayed calm. "For 4 years of rent when you couldn't keep a job. For helping raise your kids while you were off drinking with strangers. For paying off your debt. For keeping quiet when you took what didn't belong to you." Her voice trembled. "You're lying." "No," I replied. "And I've got the receipts to prove it. That ticket you took wasn't even yours. You never checked, you just assumed it was." The bravado drained from her voice. I could hear her breathing change. Faster. Uneven. "This is revenge," she hissed. "No," I said. "This is honesty. You built a fantasy on a lie, and I just stopped pretending it was real." Then came the sobbing. Not the soft, regretful kind. The kind that sounded like someone falling through the sky with no parachute. "You've ruined everything," she cried. "No," I said softly. "You did that all on your own. I just stopped cleaning up your damage." And then, her voice shifted again. It shrank. It turned small and needy. "I need help." That was it. No remorse. No warmth. Just need. I didn't respond. I let the silence answer for me. Her voice turned sharp again. "You got what you wanted. You're the one on the check. The winner. Are you happy now?" I waited a second. And then, for the first time in so long, I smiled, not with bitterness, but with peace. "No," I said. "But I bought you out of my life." And I hung up the call. No screaming. No fireworks. Just closure. The next morning, the sun came up over my same old street. No cameras. No flashing headlines. Just the smell of coffee and the hum of my kettle in the kitchen. She never called again. I didn't expect her to. Instead, I heard through whispers. Her big house? Under legal review. That shiny convertible? Registered to someone else. Her credit cards? Declined. The followers who once cheered her on? Quietly disappeared. Even the friends who once toasted to her freedom from toxicity? Gone. People like her, they don't keep people around. Not once the sparkle dims. Eventually, the state released the funds officially to me. No parade. Just a letter and a check in the mail. I opened it on my porch, alone, my feet planted firm on the welcome mat. I didn't post about it. I didn't throw a celebration. I paid off my mortgage. Donated half to women's shelters and single moms just like me. Took my grandsons to the coast for the weekend. Nothing grand. Just peace. Real peace. And when she showed up again weeks later, no makeup, no glamour, just dark circles under her eyes and a hoodie pulled tight, I didn't open the door. She stood there for a while, then whispered, "Mom, I don't have anywhere else to go." I heard her, but I didn't move. Because sometimes love has to stop where self-respect begins. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some lessons don't stick until they echo in silence. And sometimes, healing means turning your back and walking away for good. She didn't just take a ticket. She drained years of trust, chipped away at forgiveness, and left scars where promises used to be. But what she never understood is that real strength isn't loud. It doesn't always come with yelling or slamming doors. Sometimes it looks like not answering the knock. Sometimes it's just choosing peace over pain. And in that moment, standing inside my own home, wrapped in quiet and clarity, I finally understood. She didn't lose a ticket. She lost me. And this time, I chose me too.